Shalom Aleichem, beautiful and wonderful friends. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, as we listen to these messages, my wanting is that we can make shifts in our thinking. We can have more of a redemptive reflection on life. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach. I'd like to start by sharing the following, that when we sit here in this incarnation, when we sit here in this body, there's something magnificent that we really need to know. And that is, if one would want to find out their ancestry, they would go do a swab, they would potentially do a blood test, and remarkably, the way we are today with the innovation of science, we can look at the genes and we can look at the DNA, whatever it may be scientifically, but we can assess. We could be told where we are from, what's our origins. And we can go back thousands of years. What that comes to tell us is that within our being right now, within our bodies right now, we have this important information. The mystics tell us, the Kabbalists tell us, maybe taking it a step forward, that as we live today, we have within us all our ancestry. And more than that, if we know how to, we can tap into it. The newness of who and what we are is what? Our consciousness. And it's all the experiences that we've had throughout our lifetime connected to all our previous generations as well. So if you go in the language of Rav Kook or Rav Shagar, the language Sirufim Chadashim, different terminologies, but there's a hitchadshus between our consciousness and our life experience manifesting right now, in this moment, never been around before. But the truth is, when we speak about our body, when we speak about our emotions, when we speak about all the various layers and systems that are within us, it's very old. As I know, as we know, that when my mother was a little girl, when she was born, I was already in her, in a weird, odd way. So when we speak about connection to the past, it's something so important to realize that I have a direct connection. Somewhere within me, there is that experience of me being within Adam and Chava, me being at Har Sinai, you being at Har Sinai. And all through the generations, you and I were somehow there. It's an amazing thing, because if we use, for example, the Beis Hamikdash as a dugma, it was a time period where it was full of light, full of deep, deep connection. And this is how, so to speak, Shlomo HaMelech could come up with Shir HaShirim. Shlomo HaMelech was living in a generation where there was a Beis Hamikdash, a generation where there was an Am Yisrael who lived with pride and strength. They shone out this most incredible light. You and I were there. We didn't have to ask, why am I doing a mitzvah? We didn't have to ask anything. It just was. People walked around with sneers. People walked around with this deep connection. The whole world saw it. The Medrash says that it got lost, obviously. We know it got lost, but one thing the Medrash says is, if the Ummas Ha'olam, if the nations of the world realized how beneficial it was for them to have a Beis Hamikdash, they would have stood outside and guarded the Beis Hamikdash, guarding the temple. So, when we are speaking about this reality, if you go to the Kuzari, in the Kuzari Gimel, Kaf Gimel, or if you go, for example, many places in Rav Kook, we're told how that generation shone out. There was the deepest connection. Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah was so apparent. Believe it or not, we have it within us. And this is really, this Nukud of Ruach HaKodesh and building to Nevuah, Ruach HaKodesh, we could say just now, is deep, deep, deep intuition and connection to this light, to one another, to something much bigger, far greater than the self. And it was a wanting, if you look, for example, by the Baal Shem Tov, the Sadigura brings at the beginning that the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov and the Inyan of Simcha was to open up Ruach HaKodesh for Am Yisrael. You look at the Mor Nevuchim, it's probably based on the Mor Nevuchim, but the Mor Nevuchim, the Rambam writes that the reason why we lost Ruach HaKodesh and Nevuah is because we saw the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash and our mental health dropped. If we go to the Gra wanted as well to open up this Nakud of Ruach HaKodesh, which is, again, this deep experience of intimacy, long-term, sustainable intimacy with divine intelligence, the whole universe around us, living as one, living with love. When we're speaking about the Mamshich of the Vilna Gaon, Teres of Vilna Gaon, Rav Kook opened up a yeshiva, Merkaz Harav. He wanted to bring around Ruach HaKodesh. Unfortunately, we're not in the world, there are not many people who are really learning Rav Kook as Rav Kook intended. But Rav Kook wanted a yeshiva to propagate Ruach HaKodesh, to open this up. I want to share with you that, as the Gemara in Brachos tells us, that in the times of Ruach HaKodesh, in the times of the Beis HaMikdash, they experienced Olam Haba in Olam Hazeh. After the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash, the Talmidei Chachamim would greet each other, would say bye-bye to each other, Bein Hazmanim, may you experience your Olam Haba now, here, in Chayecha. So, what we are sharing is that you and I have within us everything that we need. And we, through the healing, through opening up ourselves, and through understanding how we work, we can really come to this place, Be'ezras Hashem. And I'd like us just to open this conversation up and to think about it. Be'ezras Hashem Yisbarach, may we live with love, may we live with light and hope, may we live with clarity, strength and dignity. Mamash, where we go from strength to strength, l'chaim, tovim, u'l'shalom. And one more thing, may Hashem take the energy of these sharing sessions and use them to help us in all the ways we need to be helped. L'chaim.